What up, everybody? This is Bones DK Golf. I'm here with TW Man 66. What's going on, T Dub?
Yo, yo, yo. Happy to be back.
Yeah, coming off a great week. Glad to have you back. We don't have Edge. He's having some technical difficulties in West Virginia, but it's me and you here to talk to Charles Schwab. Couple guys I like up top here. But hey, let's get the course preview first from you and see what's going on with the course.
Yeah, sorry about the hiatus last week. Good news, bad news, right? Bad news, I wasn't here. The good news is things seem to be getting back to normal. I had some family in town. So, had a really good weekend and partying during the PGA. And I'll tell you what, man, right before we get into the Colonial, this feels like the hockey stick that we went on about 6 months ago when the PGA Championship came through last time. And we started building up a bankroll and making big scores. We're feeling good. We're ready to roll here. This week it's the Charles Schwab Challenge at Colonial in downtown Fort Worth, just outside of Dallas. Par 70, Bermuda with bent grass greens. Ready to rock and roll, dude. Let's roll. Let's do it.
Yeah, you mentioned that it's a Texas course, so starting at the top, Jordan Spieth, 11,200. You got JT, Colin Morikawa, who I love this week. Patrick Reed, Daniel Berger wrapping up the 10K. What's your case against Spieth? Are you going to play him this week, or how are you going to start your lineups?
Yeah, my case against Spieth is what it always is. It's just like the guy walks around with a putter that's somehow a broomstick. But chalky Spieth, I'm not really into it right now. He sort of coming from nowhere a few weeks ago for that win. His first win in several years. Clearly, he's got skill, but when you're getting anybody at 30+%, I don't want in. The guy I'm looking at up top is Morikawa. You just can't really find a better iron player in the world. And he's one of those guys that when he puts average, he's at the top of the leaderboard, and when he puts well, he wins. So he's the guy we're looking at. But I've also I got to bring this up. The best players in the world at any course are 8 or 10 to 1 to win gambling wise. Okay, they're percentage wise to win. Even the best player in the world, DJ, let's say, is only like 2.9 to 3.5% to win in most cases. So, when you're playing a guy at the top here, you better play the guy that you really believe can win and not the guy that you hope can top five, if that makes any sense. So, when you're at this top range, I'm leaning Morikawa. If you're feeling Spieth, I wish you good luck.
Yeah, I think those are my top two plays as well. Is Colin Morikawa and Spieth if I get there. But then you get down to the 9K range here, and there's just some incredible players, juicy players that I want to play. Obviously, we were talking about Big Z a lot the last few weeks. You mentioned his name. You got Abraham Answer there, which a lot of people are talking about, rightfully so. That guy seems to be poised to win any day now. Tony Finau, Scotty Scheffler, our boy Corey Connors, Joaquin Neiman. I love all those guys. I wish I can get them all in my lineup. This is probably where I'm going to start my build this week is in the 9K range and try to squeeze in most of these guys. Who's your favorite play up here?
It's pretty rare that you see a guy ascend in DraftKings pricing having never won before and being a namesake on tour. And that's Abraham Answer, who I'm referring to there. His results have been so good that he's gone from like a low $8,000 player all the way up here near 10,000 in a strong field, despite never having won. Very like Tony Finau-esque, if you will. Just keeps like having these great finishes and bugabooed by the putter at the end of the day. He's a guy that, man, when you're getting savings like $1,500 over Jordan Spieth there, guy you gotta look at, especially even if he's chalk, versus that 1,500 savings, guy you got to look at. But yeah, I think you nailed it right on the head, man. I think again, this is a course where you're not going to be gripping it and ripping it off the tee. You got to play a lot of dog legs. You got to avoid the rough. So you got to be smart off the tee. It's a short course. Only two par fives. It's actually one of the lowest eagle percentage courses on the PGA Tour. So you're really looking for guys that can just smoothly get off the tee, club down if they have to, hit wedges into greens, and try to make some putts. in that case, I think Corey Connors is a bargain at 9,400 because he's actually coming in off some rough percentages around the greens and on the greens, and so I think you're getting a bargain out of him too. But man, this 9K range is tight. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm leaning both those guys, Answer and Connors. I think a lot of people are actually, but this whole range is going to get a lot of ownership, so you're going to want to find your leverage somewhere else. Or I was looking at the projected ownerships, and Tony Finau and Scotty Scheffler actually aren't getting that much love, projected to be under 10%, where Abraham Answers, Corey Connors, and Neiman projected to be over 19% each. So I'm looking to maybe squeeze in Answer and Connors and either get Scotty or Finau in there actually with my builds, and that's my leverage right there. Scotty being the Texas guy, I don't think a lot of people want to play him. I'm even leaning not to play him, but I think that's a time to play Scotty Scheffler when he's low owned. He's a streaky player as well, and you saw when he came in fourth at the PGA last year, he followed up with a fourth at the next tournament. So he's coming off an eighth at the PGA. He's a streaky player. I do like Scotty Scheffler, especially with his low ownership, though. There. Another guy I'm really looking at is Neiman. I really want to play this guy. He's a streaky player. 16 for 16 made cuts. His stats are there. He likes bent grass. He's not great around the green, so hopefully he's just throwing darts and he can make some putts. Joaquin Neiman is due for a win here this year, so I like him a lot. Then you go down to the 8K range. You got Justin Rose, Billy Horschel, who I know you like, Charlie Hoffman, and I'll rip off some other guys, but that's the only guys I actually like in the 8K range. I'll just put it to that. I like Charlie Hoffman. I know you like Billy Horschel. What's your take on Billy Horschel? Is he a play for you this week?
I love Billy Horschel in standard conditions at a course like this. He's won in Texas before. Obviously, he just won the match play in San Antonio, so he's got 2 wins in Texas. But, you got to remember this, that when at this course, if you've done any research on it or been reading about it, windy conditions can change the scoring significantly here. And that's just kind of standard Texas golf. But we are looking at some wind knots in about the 15 range on Thursday into the afternoon. That looks like the windiest day. But, Billy in the wind, I'm not a huge fan of. I'm looking more maybe at Charlie Hoffman if the wind picks up a little bit. So we're going to keep an eye on that here. Obviously, we're in the afternoon here on Wednesday on the eve of the start of the tournament, but that's certainly something to keep an eye on. But Hoffman and Horschel, I think, are fair plays. I think Ryan Palmer's a fair play. He's like Mr. Colonial as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, I'm the 8K range is not jumping off the page at me.
Yeah, I'm not going to be playing much 8K range. If I do, I'm going to play Hoffman. I can't get off this guy yet. I feel like I'm just repeating myself from last week with some of the same guys, but hey, they're all playing well, and they aren't showing me a reason not to play them. So you got Hoffman gaining 8.2 on the approach last week at the PGA. I like him in the wind. I don't even care. He's supposed to be high owned, unfortunately. And I'd say Billy Horschel's a great pivot off Charlie Hoffman, actually. Not going to get much love, Horschel. Hoffman projected, I think, around 18%, or Horschel's under 10%. So I like that play right there. But yeah, I'm going to go down to the 7K range where I do like a lot of guys where you're going to see most of my guys playing this week in the 7K and 9K range. I'll start it off with Emiliano Grillo. I think he's my favorite play. He's leading off the 7K range at $7,900. He has pretty good history here. Gaining on approach, 7.1, 7.1, 7.5. Not great off the tee, but I'm not too worried about that. I just see him at this kind of course. He had a second at the RBC, so I really like Emiliano Grillo this week at $7,900. I'm going to try to fit him in. I've been hearing a lot of people talk about Chris Kirk, including you. But really, that's all I like there. Maybe Brian Harmon. He's at 8K exactly. Anyone popping out for you in this range?
Grillo's like a girl I would approach at a college bar and be like, "Hey, how you doing?" And she'd be like, "F off, loser." And then like a week later, she'd find out that I was like part of a fraternity or something, and then like want to hang out with me. It's just not somebody I like to associate with. But he's still.
I was trying to figure out what your point was there.
Yeah, what I was trying to say is that he's good looking. I do like him though. I think he's got a lot of potential at a course where tee to green matters, and then just pray that the putter shows up. I'm actually going to mention one guy here, and I always do like Brian Harmon because he can make 20-plus birdies often. Another guy that can make 20-plus birdies often, and he's an Aussie who we always like in potentially windy conditions. And we really tout tee to green. He's an OG of the Buns DK Golfcast. Cameron Davis at 7,500. Man, it was 3 or 4 days ago. This guy was on the first page of the leaderboard at the PGA, and then maybe succumbed to the pressure of the major. But he's a guy I'd look at too at 7,500 if you're landing in this range. So those are two guys, and then finally I'll mention Russell Knox, who's always been a low ball flight hitter, the Scotsman, former Ryder Cupper, coming in at 7,300. He's 8th in my model. Grinder with a wedge in his hand and very steady off the tee. Knox is a guy, if you're looking at his recent history too, he's coming off some good finishes. A guy I would expect to finish in the top 20 at 7,300.
Yeah, I could get behind both those guys. Cameron Davis, man, I didn't even realize he was in this tournament. I'm happy you brought him up, and he might be someone I can back. He is an OG. He was on one of our winning lineups, and hey, he's good in the wind, and it appears he likes bent grass as well. So I like that take. I definitely agree with you, Russell Knox. He's going to make my top plays list. I can't really say much more on him. I just really agree with your take there. Another guy I was looking at was Taylor Gooch, possibly in this range. I just think he's a little undervalued. A guy that can, pop up at any time with a couple top tens. I just like this guy. He's also good in the wind, likes bent grass and POA. He's playing fine right now. His irons are there, and again, he can pop up anytime, good around the green. So, yeah, Taylor Gooch, 7,300. And that's pretty much the two guys I like down there, too. Doc Redman was possibly popping up. I know Rory Sabatini has some good history here, but, man, he's playing pretty poorly in pretty bad form. So, wish I could play him, but I don't know if I can get there. Anyone you like in the lower 7K or 6K range?
Yeah. I'm gonna kind of combine my flyer of the week with my favorite play here in the 6K range. So this is sort of a hybrid flyer because he's going to find my biggest lineup this week. Is Brian Stewart at 6,700. He's coming in 5th in my model. I'm putting a lot of weight on fairways and hitting fairways. He's number 2 as far as fairways gain goes, and he's number 4 with a wedge. So what that means to me is here's a guy who is comfortable hitting it 245 to 265 off the tee and having 150 or fewer in, and can really just throw up some darts there and try to make a couple 15-footers, put himself in the mix. Doesn't really get into a lot of trouble, so a guy that I expect to make the cut. And on that note, I also do want to mention this is an invitational field, so it's not a standard PGA field, meaning there's far fewer people in the event. However, the cut line stays the same at T65 and ties. So there's only 121 guys in the field, meaning roughly 55% of the players are going to make the field, which should correlate to a very high 6 for 6 percentage. What that means is you got to mitigate your risk, because if you're, getting crazy down here in the 6K range and you have somebody miss the cut, you're going to be behind the 8 ball. You got to get 6 for 6 through. I think there's going to be more balanced builds than stars and scrubs because of that. Doesn't mean you can't win it that way. You just better be sure of a guy that you're playing, in this Brian Stewart range. So he's also my flyer of the week.
All right, you heard it here first. The flyer of the week, Brian Stewart out of Wildman. If I were to have a flyer this week, again, I'm trying to stack up as many 9K and 8K, 7K guys. But if you need have a little savings, Vincent Whaley, $6,200. Watch out for this guy. We've been playing him the last few weeks, and hey, only $6,200, 15th, 36th, 28th, 34th, 29th, 26th, 26th. That's all you need out of a $6,200 guy. Gaining off the tee, fine, and his approach is there. Good around the green. He can putt. Doesn't seem like he loves bent, but hey, I'm not too worried about it. $6,200. Let's gamble a little bit this week and play Vincent Whaley. So that's pretty much everyone I have here. Wildman, any last takes heading into this week?
No, I think my last take will be that I think you're going to get a first-time tour winner this week. And so for my money, I'm looking at Abraham Answer. I think this is the week he gets it done.